Hello, welcome back. So, I have more to share. Um, now that we officially own property, we've been brainstorming what we should do to actually make it an enjoyable place to live. Right now, it is just vacant lot in the middle of the woods. There's going to be some things that we need to introduce and potentially also tackle to make it comfortable for us to actually hang out there. So, what I would like to do is today just share a little bit about what we have planned as far as what we're going to be doing as far as development goes. And this will give you an idea as to the bigger picture. So, what we have done so far is effectively created a list of things that are most important to least important, at least as far as urgency goes. There's a few things that we want to take care of right away, and so we'll start with the first on that list. Bugs. Yes, bugs are going to be an inevitable part of having a property in the woods. There are going to be mosquitoes, and unfortunately, my partner, when they get bit, she has quite a severe reaction. So it's actually very important for us to take care of that. We don't want to be walking around the property in full mesh gear at all times. We actually have a three-prong approach, but the first thing is actually going to be a bug catcher or a mosquito magnet. There's a few different companies that offer these solutions. We do think that it is worth the investment, especially since if we get it started right away early in the season, it will help prevent future mosquitoes from reproducing, which leads us to the next option. It's called, at least from what I've seen, the mosquito bucket of doom. Effectively, you prepare a stagnant body of water and it releases chemicals that prevent the mosquito larvae from maturing. And while doing that, it also supports other uh, life. So it's not going to be killing out any little mammals that drink from the water or even other beneficial bugs. And then the last one, which is probably the most organic option, is just building a few bat boxes and putting them up in the trees around the property. And then just let the bats move in and feast on the leftovers. Um, I think that following that process should allow us to have a very enjoyable outdoor experience without having to actually go out and spray some more harmful chemicals. So that's the bug situation. Next, really quickly, is the vehicle access. We want to make sure that the driveway, which is not really a driveway at this point, more of a path, but we want that path to stay clear. So no overhanging branches and things like that that might damage the vehicles that are coming in, but also making sure that it doesn't turn into just a messy mud pit. We've had a lot of snow this year, and so as that melts, it's going to saturate the earth. And as we drive in and out on that, it's just going to become gross, and we don't want it to become a disaster. So we want to first lay out some gravel so that at least we have somewhat clean and sturdy platform. And then that'll be our temporary solution until we get the rest of the stuff figured out. And then we can come in with a more permanent option, which truthfully is probably just going to be more gravel. But if we do a more permanent solution now, it's just going to get all torn up when we have other bigger vehicles coming in there. So the next thing is actually going to be the outhouse. We were kind of hoping to not really need an outhouse, even though it came with the property. We're going to be doing a lot of work on the property before any sort of plumbing situation is introduced. So make sure that wherever we put this outhouse, it's good to stay, and it's not going to interfere with any future projects. The next thing is going to be the bunkie. The bunkie right now is effectively a shed with a bed platform in it. We want to make it a little bit more of a base of operations while we work on other things. So we'll probably get a little bit of storage in there, put a nice comfy mattress, and then eventually we'll move it to a more permanent location, as right now it's kind of sitting in the middle of a clearing. But we'll work on that progressively throughout the rest of the project. The first thing that we're actually going to be doing to be breaking ground anyway is actually building a tent platform, effectively a big deck that we can put our 4-season tent on. So we'll be figuring out where that goes. We have been looking at different tent options. However, we haven't finalized our decision on which one we should get. So if anyone has any solutions or recommendations for a 3.5, 4-season tent, I would be very interested in hearing about it. The ones that I have been seeing are more like canvas bell tents, which are very interesting. We want something that would be able to fit at least like a queen size bed. So that's the idea that we've been thinking on. Next is going to be that well and septic plan. We do have the plans from the previous seller, and they had even laid out the blueprints for where the house was going to go, the septic and the well. However, our idea is not exactly the same as theirs, and so we need to connect with the provider of those plans to readjust and make a solution that's going to work for us. I have been in contact with them, and they basically just asked me to point out on the map where we want our building to go, and then as long as it lines up with everything for them as far as being able to run lines and stuff like that, then there really shouldn't be much of an issue. So we have an idea as to where it's going to go. There will be a final location for that, but the building itself will come later. Now we're looking at preparing the pond. This is the big one. It's something that I've been looking into for a while. It's what I've named this series after, and it's also the one thing that I might have bitten off more than I can chew as far as what we are going to be doing with this property. When we purchased the property, lots of alliteration today. When we purchased the property, the pond was not there. There was, however, a big hole, and it really gave us only two options that I can think of. One, filling it in. Two, creating a very nice water feature out of it. So we chose the latter. What that's going to look like, if we just want to do a basic pond, nothing too crazy, then we'll just shape it out, make it look a little bit more organic and not just a square. But then we'll line it with the geotextile fabric and the pond liner. We'll also need to beautify it a little bit with rocks here and there, and probably get some plants in there as well. But I think what's really important is getting an air compressor and some sort of aeration system in there so that it doesn't promote more mosquitoes. Kind of would defeat the purpose of the very first step. Now, if we are feeling ambitious, there is a second stage that we can go to for this pond, and that would look like something else that I've been researching, which is a natural swimming pool. I think it would be a fantastic functional feature. There's no chemicals. It's still going to have plants in there, but the way that it filters the water is it keeps it very clean and clear and very inviting. So that is something that I think would be amazing and am hopeful for, but I also am keeping my realistic expectations and knowing that it could become unattainable. And so the pond is 100% going to happen. We'll see at what level it gets to. The sauna and hot tub are going to come later after everything else is set up for, you know, safety reasons, with the pond and making sure that we have a dedicated place to sleep, um, septic, and running water. So this is something that we've been really excited about. My partner and I really enjoy thermal therapy, saunas, cold dips, hot tub. So this was actually one of the main attractors of even getting a property in the first place, was having a space where we could go and just relax. But it is one of the more nice to haves and not an immediate necessity. The cabin is going to be a future project. However, I figured I would share so that you have the full big picture. We've been looking at a few different options, a lot of prefab, because again, we're very new to this whole landscape. I can envision us building a cabin from scratch, but I don't want to mess it up. So if someone was able to provide us with all of the pre-cut lumber, windows, and things like that, I think that we would be a lot more confident in creating this and constructing it. So if anyone has any insights as to what would be a great option for something like this, I would be happy to hear it. I'll share a couple of the ones that we've been looking at just so that you have an idea as to our ideas. We have one that we're pretty sold on, which I'll share here. We're not living here full time. So while we do want it to be spacious enough to hang out with, you know, 4 to 6 other friends, it doesn't need to be a long-term living situation. There are going to be continuous updates, and I don't know exactly how quick the updates are going to come. However, I do expect that the next video will be on site. I would ask that if that is, again, something that you are interested in, then subscribe. You'll be notified for the next video that comes out. And I'm always interested in hearing about what your thoughts and your ideas are, because we are still very early in this process. We can always change or implement some things. And yeah, we'd be really interested to hear what you have to say. So thanks for watching. And until next time, take care.